What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. More three techs, more defensive tackles, and now we're down into the depth. These are guys who would hold the fort down. These are guys who can play a little bit of game. These are guys who, if you absolutely have to put them in a game, they're adequate. But to expect anything over the top from any of them, to expect any of them to be able to provide something special, something unique, probably a bad idea. Excuse me. So I'm going to be perfectly honest. If you need to sign a group, a player from this group, that's fine. None of them are going to be that expensive. But given where the Seahawks are, with a very expensive 3 tech in Big Cat, who is very, very good, and a first round pick 3 tech in Murphy, who should be very good in the near future, if not now, you should really be able to find your emergency 3 tech in the draft on day 3 and pay him not even $1 million against the cap for his rookie season and get what you need. So going out into free agency and spending money on a guy on this tier, the guys of the caliber that we're going to be talking about in this video, would indicate to me that you're not looking at things properly. So I'm not a big fan of going after these guys. The quality of play is about right, understandable, but if you're going to aim this low, you should be able to do it for minimal money, day 3, even UDFA, man. Like, that's your job. You're a GM. If you're Schneider, you're the GM. If you're a scout, you're a scouter. If you're a talent developer on this coaching staff, then you should be able to find a guy who can do this stuff. Mike Morris should be able to do this stuff. Miles Adams should be able to do this stuff, and doesn't seem like they can even do that. All right, let's take a look here. We're going to go quickly. Lightning round. Roy Lopez of the Cardinals spent his first 2 years on Houston. Last year actually started 16 games, but didn't do a ton. 1 sack, 28 tackles, just kind of okay. PFF, not a big fan. They thought he was pretty close to average last year, I guess. And it's a decent sample size, 460 snaps. The year before that was better. He was graded out okay, 54th on about 400 snaps, so that's a little bit more encouraging. And it's not like he's old or anything, right? He's going to turn 28 in August, so we do have a little bit going on here. Botrack says 1 year, 3.5 million. I feel like it's going to be a little lower than that, but this is probably the right idea. Kevin Givens, another divisional rival. He has been on the Niners his whole career. The only year he was a primary starter was 2022, where he had 11 starts. But 2024, he only played 8 games and still had a career high 3.5 sacks. So that's going to get somebody's attention, and I think this guy's going to do all right for himself in free agency. Warning sign, though, would be 7 pressures to get those 3.5 sacks. That's a little unsustainable, you would think. PFF thought he was awful last year, too, by the way, despite the high sack numbers. Seems like he's sacrificing his pass rush or run defense in order to get a pass rush going. Many such cases. Not even 200 snaps, by the way, so it's a small sample size. The year before, he graded out better, but still not particularly good. About 400 snaps this year. So, a little bit tricky. There is no market value page for him, but he signed a contract last offseason for 1 year, $2 million. I feel like he'll get a little bit more because of the 3.5 sacks, but he did only play 8 games, so I'm going to go like 1 year, $2.5 million. 1 year, $2.5 million seems okay. I mean, he's hitting his prime, and there were some positive signs the last couple years, just not enough to get him a long-term deal. Byron Cowart. Byron Cowart, most recently of the Bears. This is a guy who has had 2 seasons in recent memory where he didn't do anything, which you don't see that often. He took a year off, came back, played for a year, took another year off, came back last year, and I guess he had a career year, 2.5 sacks in 15 games. Not that that's much of a career year to speak of, and he's about to turn 29. I mean, it's not super exciting, but it's workable, right? 58.9 PFF grade on 335 snaps. Year before that, I mean, well, now 3 years ago, 2022, 30.4. Good lord, bottom of the barrel stuff. 230 snaps. So yikes. But again, this is more recent anyway, so why trip on it? Botrack market value 2 years, 5.6 million. I mean, sure, I guess. I don't know. This one's weird. You don't see players take multiple years off like this that often. He literally took out 2021 and 2023 and came back between those years and came back at the end of it. Don't know what's up with that. But sure, I guess. I mean, I kind of like the second year. You can shove a lot of money into that second year and he doesn't get most of it. So you end up not paying him all that much at all, and you spread the cap hit out very judiciously. Taven Bryan. This guy, former first round pick, never really panned out in the NFL. About to turn 29. He's good enough to be in the NFL, but nowhere near good enough to be a first round pick, which is what he was. He's had seasons where he's been a full-time starter, a part-time starter, a not starter, and in no capacity has he been particularly effective. 11 and a half sacks in 7 years. I guess the best you can say about him is that he has played almost every game that he's been on the that he's been in the NFL for in some capacity, but this is not a player that has really worked out the way people were hoping. So last 2 years he's played for the Colts, started some games, mostly hasn't. 58.1, barely top 100 on 340 snaps. Year before that, even worse, 51.3, barely top 150, 343 snaps. So he's just kind of like what the doctor ordered in terms of a marginal 3-tech that you just kind of want to throw in emergencies. And you know you're not going to have to pay him that much. Market value's 1 year, 2.7 million. Probably about right. I could see a little bit less because his pedigree's probably worn off by now. Long time ago he was a first round pick, but maybe. Again, if this is all you're going to get, I think it should be like a UDFA rookie or a 6th round pick or something. Not a free agent you have to give almost $3 million to, but you know, if you can't do it, you can't do it. Jeremiah Ledbetter, very interesting name here. About to turn 31. Another guy who actually took 2 years off non-consecutively. Wow, what a coincidence. I never see this, and now I see it in two players in the same video. Detroit, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville. Spent last 3 years on Jacksonville. Last year was a little bit of a breakout year, 2 sacks and 38 tackles. Again, it's not much of a breakout year, but it showed that he belonged in the league. 8 tackles for loss is going to turn some heads, get some attention. Botrack thought he was good. PFF thought he was good last year. 63 grade on 441 snaps. And the year before that, not so much, 49. So it's a little bit undependable. 370 snaps. I mean, it's okay. It's probably worthy of being a backup that plays sporadically in this league and not much else. 1 year, 2.6 million. I mean, again, if this is all I'm getting, I feel like I should be paying a lot less for it. But if you as a GM don't have confidence in your ability to find that guy, then you pay what you got to pay in order to secure the talents. But it's just such a low level of talent, it would frustrate me. DeShawn Williams, I remember talking about this guy in previous years when he was a free agent, I think 2 years ago before his Panthers contract. He was a Bronco before then. Look at this. He had 3 straight years where he did nothing. And then he came back into the NFL and actually has been a pretty good player over the last 5 years, a notable player at least. Last year, he kind of segued into the backup role in his career where he only started 1 game after being a most of the time starter in previous years. He just turned 32, so age is starting to definitely settle in here. He's definitely going to get to the point where he can't do the things he used to do, and he's already working from a pretty marginal place in terms of his talent. Last year, PFF docked him pretty hard, 47.9, not even top 150, 338 snaps. I mean, it's okay. But am I really going to pay meaningful money for this? Year before was not better, by the way, and he had a bigger sample size, 443 snaps. So you're getting replacement level play at best on a small sample of data, which can I get that from Mike Morris? That's kind of how I feel about it. Botrack says 1 year, 2.3 million, and that's probably about the going rate for a semi-competent lineman, but at the same time, I feel like I can get semi-competent linemen for cheaper than that if I know where to look. Maurice Hurst Jr. Just about to turn 30 in May, coming off a year where he missed half the season because of an injury. Injuries have kind of been a problem for Maurice throughout his entire career. His best seasons really kind of came early when he was with the Raiders. Excuse me. So it's been a little bit of a tough go for him, but he's still grinding out seasons in the league. Last 2 years, he's played 21 combined games for Cleveland. And they haven't been too complimentary of him over on Pro Football Focus, 45.3. And the previous year, wow. That's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde right there, right? 81, one of the highest graded D linemen in football on 300 snaps. And then the very next year, last year, 45.3 on 160 snaps. So who knows what you're going to get. Now, it is worth noting that he's been on the Browns. 2 years ago, the Browns had the best defense in football. Last year, not so much. So there's probably a lot of residual benefits from playing with such an elite defense that he didn't get to enjoy in 2024. So, yeah, you're going to have to interpret that on your own, but that's probably a big part of it. So 1 year, 2.1 million. I could be on board for that. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. If you believe he's going to be very good, if you surround him with great talent, then surround him with great talent and bring him on board. He's only going to turn 30. Age is not a big deal yet. Last guy for this video is going to be Derrick Nnadi. Derrick Nnadi, 3-time Super Bowl champion Derrick Nnadi. He's been on the Chiefs this whole time, riding his way to Super Bowl championships, playing in the Super Bowl almost every year. But he's very much just along for the ride here. Other than 2021, when he had 3 sacks, he's been very quiet statistically. He's just somebody who you plug in, and he just kind of takes up space in the middle. And you need players like that. You absolutely need players like that to just take up space. And he hasn't done a bad job at that. But definitely a low ceiling here. PFF hates him. 35.8 in 2024. Which, I mean, what does that imply, man? What does that imply if they're giving you a 35.8 on more than 220 snaps? That implies they think you don't know how to put your pants on almost. And the year before that, not much better. 40.6. So that's 500 snaps, by the way. That means something. So probably just a guy who's coasting on getting to play with Chris Jones. Let's say what it is. So Derrick Nnadi, not worth a lot, but worth something in this league. If anything, he might get overpaid because of association. Botrack says 1 year, 2.1 million. Sure. I don't know. I want to be a little more ambitious here. If I'm going to spend $2 million or more than $2 million on a player, I know it doesn't sound like that much money. I'd like something with a little bit more oomph to it than a guy who PFF absolutely hates and despises, who basically doesn't get any kind of pressure whatsoever and never makes plays in the backfield. I can do a little bit better than that, I hope. Okay, so let me know what you guys think. These are your depth guys. These are guys that you pick up because you just need a warm body. And the Seahawks are in a situation where they could just be like, we just need a warm body, but you could be a little more ambitious. Or if this is all you want, just go super cheap in the draft. Just go get some guy who's going to have a cap hit of like $700,000, $800,000 in 2025. Don't spend 3 times as much on a guy who's going to give you about the same. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what's up. One more defensive tackle video coming later today.